First off, let me just say that thank you guys so much for the love on the first episode of M.F.O, and the UFO episode is still being edited at this moment. So I have no idea how successful that's going to be, and I really don't care because I just want to do this stuff regardless. It's been a blessing so far to even get this far. I haven't even said it yet, but I got a surprise for you guys. We reached 1 million views on the channel. 1 million views. 1 million views. Holy shit. It's just crazy to think about how far we've come so far. So I think about why I've gotten as far as I have. The only thing I could think of is M.F.O. You know, I've been very outspoken about a lot of things. Whether it's to my benefit or to my detriment throughout the years, it's been pretty much my thing. That is my brand. My brand is being real, being honest. And I think that I've rid that out for as long as I could. I'm still writing it out, and I think a lot of people appreciate it sometimes that I'm unapologetic and how I kind of stick to how I feel about certain things. So this video, based on the title, is going to be about the meta, or in some other industries they like to call it the standard. You know what I really hate about it's like I really hate it because it really does ruin a lot of stuff. It does benefit some things. It definitely does benefit some things, and what I mean by benefit is like keeping a standard or keeping a level of whatever the hell is good in some cases because it provides a level of consistency. A level of consistency is always a good thing. At least I personally like consistency. I don't like randomness all the time, but the level of consistency that we have come to enjoy, especially I'm going to be mostly focusing, of course, in the gaming community. I might throw in a couple examples outside of it, but it's just very strange of how the meta has I think ruined certain things. So the first thing that I want to talk about is sheeple. Or, you know, sheep people, as we like, follow the leader people, people that follow a meta, people that follow what is good and they don't have any interest in anything else that's not. In fighting games, we like to call this top tier. We call pick a top tier. I think I forgot what famous player said it, saying like, you know, just pick a top tier. Stop trying to play this low tier crap. You're gonna lose. These other players are pretty much now on the same skill level as you.
If I pick the top tier, and you know I'm the most prideful motherfucker there is, yo. Yeah. If I pick the top tier, just pick a top tier. You want to win, yo? Pick a fucking top tier.
So in order to compete with them, you need to pick a character that's gonna allow you to beat them. Now, that's why in a lot of the times these tournaments, and it's not just within fighting games, I think even with esports, I wish fighting games and esports were the same thing, but that's another discussion. But it's crazy that when a character is used, or when a team is used, or a team comp is used, and it's not the meta, it's like this big huge thing. It's like, oh my god, but how did he do it with that guy? Or how did he do it with that character? How did he do it with that team? That doesn't make any sense. Even though technically it makes sense because it was capability for it to happen in the first place. There was a facility to allow that to happen. It's just that no one bothered to make it happen. If the road is a little bit more difficult to get to the end goal, is it not worth traveling? And I think that that's very important because, let me go into gacha games a little bit. The meta in a gacha game is enshrined, I should say, is made in a specific way that if you do not follow the specific steps and set up your account in the specific way and do it like this, you kind of get screwed in a gacha game. In a fighting game, you have some flexibility. Some other games you have flexibility, but in a gacha game, you really don't. If you have crappy units and they actually turn out not to be that good, your account's kind of just screwed, and you don't really get to do much. I feel like MMOs have the same thing. Like if you try to go off the wall with something and it turns out bad, you know, what are you supposed to do with your account? You probably have to restart it, or hopefully if the game has some type of respecking. Same thing with action RPGs, or kind of like a Dark Souls-esque kind of game. Like there's not much you could, like, I mean, Dark Souls probably like the best example is that like you can actually do nothing. There's a lot of tons of games like a Dark Souls, like a Sekiro, where you can go through the game and no hit challenges, and you can see that technically you can play the game and not involve yourself in the best build of the game and still be able to pass through it. But could you do that in, let's say, a fighting game? Can you use the worst characters in the game and win at a high level? Now, it's possible, but you know, how often does it happen? How often should that player endure? And then eventually I think those players, those gamers turn into sheeple. They just like, you know what? I'm tired of losing, or I'm tired that my count sucks. What is the best way to get ahead? And that's when we turn into those people. And I think a lot of us are very guilty of it. And I think that the problem is it's sometimes it's not the community's fault. It's kind of like a dev thing. It might be like that they make the game a certain way. I also wanted to bring up that sheeple does apply to the devs as well. It applies to game makers. It even provides to like filmmakers and stuff like that. When they take the safe route, they take a route that's just super safe, super safe, because they know that that's already been proven to work, so let's just do that again. It's a weird, annoying thing. Like, I might catch heat for this. We're going anime. I'm bouncing all over the place. Not just anime technically, but even within games or any type of story element. Here we go. Here we go. I am a big fan when characters die, and just hear me out, please. I love that shit, and I love it. And I'll give you an example of why I don't like Dragon Ball Z, but I like Naruto. I like Akame ga Kill, because these animes will kill off a character. One, they don't come back, and I hate that mechanic. I hate revival, stuff like that. And when a person dies, it's against the meta. When I first started seeing it, it was against the meta of, you know, the protagonist might get beat up. The protagonist might have a lot of bad things happen to him, but he's still going to prevail at the end. And I like when a show starts to kind of tear that apart from you. They take away your comfort level and they start to show you, well, who knows who's gonna die? Especially Akame ga Kill, especially if we're talking about the anime adaptation. And that's why, and I might catch heat for this.
Why don't you say whatever speech you got rehearsed? Get this over with.
I kind of understand what The Last of Us 2 was trying to go for when they were trying to do a lot of risk. They took a little bit too much risk. I think most people can agree to that. But a lot of people can at least acknowledge that, you know what, that wasn't that bad of a risk. Same thing, what a lot of people compare The Last of Us 2 with Metal Gear 2 is a game that took a risk by not letting you play as Snake for as the majority of the game. You play for him in the beginning, he supposedly dies, and then you have to play as another character called Raiden, and it's like, why are you here? why am I playing as this guy? I came for some solid snaking, and I'm not getting it. But the difference is that they immediately let the player, the wise player that knows a little bit of lore, they kind of let you play alongside Snake within a couple of hours. I would say maybe less than an hour after you begin your journey as Raiden, you know that Snake is now there with you. So I think that was a little bit different from, you know, rest in peace, Joel. Rest in peace, my boy. But you know, they took a risk, and you can say whether or not they executed it properly or not, but I do like when companies, artists take some type of risk, when they go against the grain, they go against the norm, and it allows people to see like, hey, we can mess around with that. And of course, we could fuck up royally. I think that should be said. Like, even though you're very willing to take a risk, there's also the aspect of which, not that you shouldn't take a risk, but you have to be aware that just because you took a risk is not going to give you immunity from criticism. It's not going to give you immunity from, you know, obviously just doing it wrong or not doing it in an effective way. Same thing with the guy that takes the unpredictable team and he just can't win because he took the risk of picking an unpopular character or unpopular team comp or something like that, and he keeps losing. And it could actually not be because he sucks, most likely does, but it couldn't honestly be the character. And then when it comes down to the character or the team comp, can you then blame that same person for just saying, well, you know what, I want to win, I don't know, like it's really strange. That's my first point, and I am trying to be more focused here on this one. Is what do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about when it comes down to people following what's the best thing to do when it comes to film, when it comes to gaming, when it comes to a lot of things? I mean, like, even when it comes to jobs, when it comes to working, you know, what is the best financial way to be stable? You know, a lot of people, I remember before, was like, you got to be a doctor. You see a lot of people becoming like nurses and things of that nature. The medical field, and they shove that up your ass, and like, it's kind of hard to pursue something that's not the norm. Different. And honestly, the meta changes depending on the person. You know, if your race can also imply certain things, that maybe that your family is going to push you towards certain things. Also, your upbringing. I was actually speaking with someone else about, like, you know, family-owned business. You know, family-owned business, the meta in that family might be to just keep the family-owned business, generational wealth, being able to constantly keep money within the family, keep that family striving, even if that person might not have any interest in taking on dad's old farm. It's generational wealth. Like, yo, you got to keep this going up. This is our bloodline. And then you're telling me that you want to be a hip-hop artist. You're telling me you want to be an artist, like an actual artist, or a hairstylist or something like that. And it's like, bro, why are you breaking this well-established thing that we got going on to be cool or to be unique, or because you're so different? Like, no, sit your ass down and follow the leader here. Follow the lead that we have provided. And, you know, for those people, it's kind of rough, you know, like, because a lot of the times, a lot of the risks that we take, like I was just saying, it's not guaranteed. We're not guaranteed. This YouTube shit is not guaranteed. I've been doing YouTube and Twitching for like several years, 10+ years. And this is like the most I've made doing it. So I'm really blessed for YouTube. And, you know, I went to college for business, so I can use some of my business techniques, my business techniques. So I guess techniques is kind of a new word. Yo, we're making up stuff today. I've used a lot of the stuff, some of the stuff that I've learned, and I'm trying to make it work. But if it doesn't work out, I'm a fucking loser. You know, like, I didn't follow the meta. I didn't just go to college and then intern and then network properly and things of that nature. I didn't follow the meta of what I was supposed to do. And I'm trying my best to make it worthwhile, because of, I feel bad because of, you know, donations that I've been given through streaming. People will support just for the platform that I'm trying to make it. And that's cool. But I want the meta. I like the meta that you're paying for something like maybe directly, and you're getting something immediately back besides just a thank you. You know, I feel like, I don't know, I'm business oriented, so the meta of business is that, you know, most people don't go up to McDonald's or Burger King, regardless of how much they might love it throughout the years, and they don't just say, well, here's $10, you know, I really appreciate you. And hell, we can even go to more of a mom and pop store. You don't really see that often either, like someone just going into a starting up business and just give them money. I mean, investors, maybe the bank loan or something like that, but you don't really see that on that level, you know, like that people just do that. But, you know, for us young entrepreneurs, you do see that in some way, shape, or form on Twitch and on YouTube, where, you know, you guys just love the content and you value it enough to just want to invest, and that's pretty cool. Because, you know, that we went against the meta and we're spending a crazy amount of time to put it in. I think those are the people that donate or care about that the most, is the people that realize how much against the meta we really are going, that we really should be just going out, full-time job, trying to get promotion, 401k, you know, pension, stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of people that when I see a post that they say like, oh, I quit my job and I'm doing YouTube full time, that's a huge risk, man. So the second thing that I wanted to bring out, what I hate about the meta, is it's kind of tied to each other. That's why I didn't want to do 3 points. I kind of wanted to do 2. I wanted to focus it on, you know, how people just kind of do it because it's the best thing. And the second one I wanted to talk about was like the lack of creativity, the death of creativity. When the meta kind of like pigeonholes you into not being able to actually express yourself. Well, now I want to kind of highlight, or someone was telling me that in a gacha game, they said if everyone had the same characters, then, you know, no one would be able to actually be individual, be an individual. And I was like, wait, what? If everyone had the same characters, you'd actually have the ability to do whatever you want. I think that a lot of games, a lot of systems, a lot of companies, and this is more, I guess, my dev portion of it, is that these gaming companies don't really allow, most of the time, you know, allow people to be creative. Like, they set up characters to be so strong that it's like stupid. You're like literally dumb if you don't like utilize them, and you can't really do that in fighting games. It's like, bro, why are you picking Ryu, bro? Ryu's old news, bro. Get with this new character that was in this DLC that has 16 frames, and, you know, like, you start looking at some of this stuff and it's like, it's so deliberate that when in gaming, and this is again more focused on gaming dev stuff like that, is that they know what's good. It's not like you don't make a game like a gacha or a fighting game, or even when League of Legends, when they make characters, it's like, you know what a good character is. You know that, like, in a MOBA, if a character can stun, like emit CC, like crowd control, if you guys don't know, when a character can do that, like, to me, the character's like slightly better, right? The character can defend themselves, they can set up other things, they could do a lot more than a character that does not. Like, a pure DPS character that just does a shit ton of damage is cool and all, but still needs to be babysitted like, you know, a 2-year-old. So, but all of a sudden you give that character a stun or a slow or something like that, and I don't know, that kind of makes the character a little bit better. A little bit better. You give a character, a high damage character, the ability to defend themselves at the same time, that character is going to come off pretty broken. That's why a lot of the times people have issues with tanks and things of that nature, because it's like, well, you got a tank that's hard to kill, dishes out a lot of damage, can stun you or slow you, and it's like, and the lack of creativity dies, because you can't then be like, well, my favorite character is this my favorite character is this guy that doesn't do half of that stuff. He just has this one little gimmick, and I know how to make it work, but I'm gonna lose most of the time. But it's my favorite character. And it's like, I really wish that the development of games would be more equal across the board. I mean, when it comes to making unique characters, there's not so many good examples I can bring up in gaming where every character felt fair. I think right now one of the best games that I would watch, and I'm biased because I watch it, right, is that I watch Dragon Ball FighterZ. It's one of my favorite games to watch, and they took 3 seasons. It is season 3, and they finally have it to where most of the characters are pretty balanced, so you can kind of use whoever you want right now, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful for a 3-man tag game. To be fair though, that could be a completely lie. That can be a complete lie on the basis that there has been no offline tournaments, and that kind of usually gears stuff to kind of switches things up. Like, you know, you don't have the ability to really see how good your team is because you're playing online, and online breeds different mechanics, especially because a lot of online games, especially for fighting games, usually are a little bit wonky. But still, the creativity in that game is so cool. But in the same aspect as we're talking about the meta, as soon as I see someone use a meta team, which currently in that game is Kid Buu and GT Goku, and you see those two and you're like, you're going to sleep. They're so good. They do the same, like, everything is so ugh. You just... That was actually a yawn. That wasn't me trying to animate a yawn. But it slows the creativity. It just screws it up. And I love when you just see, like, someone's like, oh, Videl. It's like, what, Videl? Videl, who the hell is that? Janemba, Android 17, Android 21. You start seeing, like, these crazy different characters in that game that you normally just don't see. So that's the same thing I would love to see in gachas, where if you were to concoct some stuff, you can actually reasonably make some cool stuff. But the devs don't really allow you to do that. I've mentioned this in the first part a little bit, but it's like, you can't use those other options if they're really shit. If they're really bad, you really can't get around the meta. And when a meta gets set, it is the worst thing in a game. I think it's the worst. Once a meta is set, it's so bad because it's actually, and I didn't speak about this the entire time. Card games. Legends of Runeterra, Shadowverse are the two card games that I play, and they're plagued by the meta because they can only, once an expansion comes out, once, you know, in either game, right? Card game becomes very exciting. Everyone doesn't know what the fuck is good. That essence, that part right there, when it's so cool, everything's cool, everything is fun. It's like that card, oh cool, look what that card does. It's so, oh my god, it's so cool. And then the meta sets in. And then it's like, oh my god, that card's so cool. And it's like, it turns from that to, well, I can't really reasonably use that card because by turn 5 it dies to this card, and that card's popular and I can't run that card, so I have to run a card to counter that card. And then everyone's deck just starts to accumulate to being the same thing. Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! One of my favorite card games because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is one of the most ruthless card games I've ever seen. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is back in the day before all this land. Magic has the land thing. Land is like kind of the distributing factor of power. It kind of slows the game down. I've heard since that there are ways to get around it. There are decks that get around it a little bit, but that was what Magic was. The whole thing about the lands, you can't really just like drop power like that. Hearthstone obviously adapted that same kind of thing, but it gained guaranteed power per turn by giving you one low power or whatever they want to mana they want to call it. And Shadowverse did the same thing, but OG Yu-Gi-Oh! They didn't give a fuck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Became this thing where you can make these one-turn kill decks. There are so many of them, and when I say OTK, and this is why people, it was weird when people would say OTK, and they would say it in like Shadowverse or something like that, or Hearthstone's like, oh, this is the OTK deck, and it's like, oh, so you can win like on your first turn? He's like, no, I won on a specific turn in one turn. And I was like, that's not fucking, you don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Then. You don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! If you don't know what a true OTK is. A true OTK is like, hi, how's it going? We're gonna have a nice duel today. Okay, I'll go second. You know, they do the rock paper scissors. I go second, right? So you go, you start up your turn. It's like, yeah, okay, interesting. Yeah, yeah. Okay, that was cool. Yeah. All right, and then it's my turn. Okay, you lost. As soon as it's that person's turn, you lose. That's That's Yu-Gi-Oh! And I fucking love it. Of course, that breeds the meta, right? Because whatever deck that is, most people are gonna run it. It became really not worth it, in my opinion, to go to tournaments, because imagine going to a tournament and the guy beats you on his first turn, second turn of the duel. It's not healthy. It's definitely not healthy. So they started bringing up countermeasures. They try to change the meta, and you know, it looks like it's in a decent, healthy spot. There's a lot of meta decks, and that's what you kind of want it to be. You want it to be that there are multiple good options in the game. And I could actually give you guys an example from Shadowverse. You know, I like Shadowverse. I like a lot of games. I just don't put them on the channel because I know a lot of people, you know, it's smarter for me to focus on one game. I've learned my lesson. I've been groomed. You know, I'm going into the meta of YouTube, right? I know the meta. I know the algorithm. It's better, smarter for me to not just put a bunch of games on there just because I like them. I have to be a little bit more meticulous with my games. And that's just what it is. I just wanted to show this one quick thing. So to give you guys a quick synopsis of what I'm trying to talk about. In Shadowverse, they have, what is it, 8? Yeah, 8 classes, right? Doesn't matter what they are. Some people that play Shadowverse know exactly what I'm talking about, others do not. But it has 8 classes, right? So you would think that there would be a meta deck for each class, right? That if there was a meta that existed, it would be for each class, right? Fundamentally, right? But if we even go to the most recent tournament, and this is in a certain format, they have 2 formats, it's rotation and unlimited. Tournament winning decks, you can literally meta copy. I can meta copy, which is terrible. It's a good thing, but it's a bad thing, obviously. Like I can literally copy the deck that won. I can literally take the deck that won, click on it, and then just copy it word for word, card for card. Even tells me what cards I'm missing. Like, hey, you know, how much it's gonna cost. This is how much vowels you need. This is how much you have. Like, they really look like, yo, you want to use the most broken shit? Yo, this is exactly how to do it. Which I kind of like it. And again, I hate it. Let me know in the comment section how you feel about it. Because people net deck all the time. So, but the thing that I'm bringing up here is that, like I said, 8, right? There's 2 forest decks, one sword, 1 runecraft. Really bad. There's only 1 runecraft. Runecraft usually has multiple, at least 2 decks. Dragon, only 1. Shadowcraft has only 1. Bloodcraft has only 1, and Haven and Portal, the other 2 here, did not have any decks in this most recent tournament. And that sucks, you know, because I mean, yes, there's going to be win rates, and some decks are going to be better than others, but there wasn't enough reason for these 2 people. Like, there are people that love Havencraft, people that like Portal. I specifically am a dirty Runecraft main, even though I don't really play it too much anymore because, you know, but I've always been Runecraft for life. I love the aspect of spell boosting and all the other nonsense that it brings. And I'm happy to see that Shadowcraft got, you know, a buff. I know you guys don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but you know, these are like 2 of my favorite classes, and it's good to see Rune is always pretty much at the top, but Shadowcraft within like the last couple expansions have been pretty much in the gutter. And last expansion, there was Portal was actually in there. But they changed the meta, and now Portal is not that good. Haven was really good in the last meta too, the last expansion too. But they changed the meta, and now there's really no reason to really go into Haven. Now, not to say that you can't win with Haven, not to say you can't win with Portal. I know that my thing is blocking Portal, but you can do it. Oh, I can actually check other seasons. Oh, I didn't even know that. Oh, cool. I can even prove my point. That's even cooler. I can prove my point. See, like, look, Forest has multiple decks. To be fair, this is an expansion, right? So of course there should be more decks here because there's more tournaments, right? Just obviously, right? So look at all the decks that were good within this one little multiple tournaments that we're going through. Every deck kind of eventually has something. Machina, Natuda, Bloodcraft. There were a lot of things that were kind of developing over the time, and if hopefully, like, this expansion is very new. Like, see, look, even Portal had some stuff in there too. See, not as long as a list as the other ones. Like when we went to Forest, this list just seems a little bit longer. I could be wrong, I'm not counting. But you know, you go to different seasons and there's different decks that are meta, you know, which is pretty cool. That's what you want. But when it comes down to the most recent tournament, and like 2 of the classes just did not participate or place that well. I don't know how exactly. It says tournament winning deck, so like you have to, I guess, get good results. So it's very likely that there were Haven and Portalcraft players. They just didn't do that well because, you know, the meta probably doesn't benefit those 2 decks at the moment. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say. Like, the meta just destroys creativity. It doesn't allow the individual to express themselves in a proper way if they make the other options really bad. Like, luckily, if I go back to real life examples, is that you can reasonably, you know, pursue a lot of things because, you know, there is money in a lot of things in the world. You don't have to necessarily be the doctor. You can kind of do a lot of multiple things. You can open up a business and sell, you know, now you can sell weed. That's a really big thing. I mean, I'm not going to talk about how fucked up that business is right now, but, you know, it is cool that eventually now people can, that's their business. Their business is selling weed. Their business is selling ice cream, you know, like that who would have thought, you know, pizza, even like restaurants, certain restaurants. It's like crazy to see like different types of forms of businesses coming across, and or arcades, you know, like that's a, you know, who would have thought that would have been a good thing. And of course, some of these things have faded out due to other advancements. Malls are being faded out because of Amazon, people just buying stuff online. Why do I have to go to a store where I could have it delivered straight to my house, you know? And I mean, certain businesses become meta and screw up the other business. But, you know, it's interesting. It's very interesting. And I think at the least, I think that the more flexibility the world has in everything, gaming, I don't think I gave enough movie examples because I don't watch that many movies. Outside of the anime example that I gave, is that, you know, I do like when they mix it up, take some risk. And that's what I want you guys to do. Take some risk. Take some risk, man. Don't be afraid to do something that's a little bit off meta, and yeah, you might ruin your account. You might ruin your account. You might struggle harder in the fighting games. You might lose more matches in, you know, that MOBA game that you like to play. But at the end of the day, isn't it? No, isn't it worth losing? It's like it's not. But I really hope that the devs, in the second point that I'm trying to make, if you nerf the meta, something else becomes meta eventually. But I feel like if the meta changes a lot, I do think that that's a good thing. I do think that that allows more creativity. It does suck when it's like paywalled that way, like if it's a DLC in a fighting game where they add characters that make other characters seem bad, and then it's like, well, I gotta get the DLC, or in a gacha where it's like, well, I gotta get this new character. That new character is pretty much the best thing in the game. I need to get that to counter this other meta. Or in MMOs, they might drop a new class, and it's like, well, that class just is the best healing. So it technically changed the meta, just added another one, like, you know, like, but if you do that enough and you don't, you know, put people behind a paywall all the time, it's actually not that bad. I do like it. I do like constant balancing, as long as it, you know, again, is done in a tasteful way. It just has to be done in a tasteful way. It has to be accessible. And if in those things, you can really, really create beautiful things and allow people to do that. And when I make my first game, which is not anytime soon, but I definitely, that's going to be one of my biggest goals. I want it to be that, you know, you can win multiple different ways. It's kind of like MMA, like you can win by knocking them out, punching them out, like they can't defend themselves. You can get them with the choke, you know, different elements of surprise, you know, like, but you know, some people are specialists, so you know they're not going to do stuff, but they always have that option. I like options. Everyone should like options. The options are what make the world go around. That's my M.F.O. And now you know. Make sure that you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And as it's going to be still testing out the format of this, is that I'm going to pick a couple comments, and then we're going to do a UFO unidentified fucking opinions. And I'm going to go through that, or what you guys think about the meta and it changing all the time, or should the meta stay the same and then have like very few things. And there's arguments to that. I think one of the games that I like the most was like Tekken. Tekken doesn't really do patches, and like when they drop a game, that's it. If there's a meta attached to a Tekken game, you deal with it and you have to get around it. You have to fight through it. It is what it is. But what it's not, which makes no sense. But just remember that every day at the Kashino is your lucky day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.